What is up, everyone? My name is Joseph, and welcome back to Casually Competitive's Any Response podcast, where we take some Magic-related topics and we talk about them as a group. Before we get us started into anything, let's go around and introduce my co-hosts here. So start off with
Jordan.
my right side.
That's me.
It is Jordan. Hi, I'm Bill.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Nate.
And I, like I said, am Joseph. And we are the guys you see every week on the gameplay videos. So today we're going to talk about something that has been a little bit of a point of contention, I guess, for a few of our recent-ish uploads. And we thought it'd be good to just kind of talk about it. It's something that's relevant within the scene, the Magic scene, especially at the power level that we play at, which is not quite super competitive, but definitely a step above casual, which is like the placements and just the concept of the Demonic Consultation. So we'll be getting to that in a second. Before we get into any serious topics, just want to go over a few quick channel promotions. First off, if you like what we do, we have a Patreon and a YouTube join button. You can help support us, improve the quality and the frequency of these videos. We have a TCG affiliate link in the description if you're going to be buying cards, which I know everyone watching and everyone on this table is going to be buying cards. Click that link. Anything you buy at no cost to you will help out the channel. We also have a Twitter and a Discord available if you want to get to know us, talk to us. Some of us are active in there. Some of us aren't. And you can learn you can hear about some announcements or updates that we have, such as the fact that we're going to Magic Fest Toronto later in May, which should be super exciting, as well as
It's not getting canceled.
I better not get canceled.
Canceled.
we already booked the Airbnb. As well as a CEDH tournament in New Jersey earlier in May, hosted by DDM Gaming. Links for that stuff will be in the description. Finally, we stream every Friday, 7 p.m. 7 p.m. EST.
7:30.
7:30 EST. Here on the YouTube channel, so
8
check
o'clock.
that out if you want to watch some live gameplay. Anyway, enough of the
Watch
promotions.
our misplays in real time.
You can watch
Oh, yeah,
every single misplay.
We can't edit them out.
Yeah,
We can cut the stream though.
the unedited misplays. If you think we
True.
misplay a lot on video, you should see us.
You've never seen a casually competitive stream.
So let's just jump into our first topic today. We have a few topics depending on the length of this, but our main topic today is going to be just Demonic Consultation in general. I'll say like our power level and the channel's power level, what we're going for, is a little bit, like I said, less than super competitive, but definitely a step above casual, like a nice high powered, like 85% meta. So Flash Hulk isn't as prevalent in our play group and on this channel, but Demonic Consultation is something that you have probably seen us play and something that's fairly common. We've gotten some comments of people not really liking the concept of it, so I figured it'd be a good topic for us to, as a group, just discuss what our personal thoughts are, regardless of the channel and the decks we play, just what our thoughts are on that type of win condition. So I'll just open it up for discussion. Any responses to Demonic Consultation as a line to win in Magic the Gathering?
It's dumb,
Why is it dumb?
but it's too good to not play.
It's true.
It's
I think for me the point of contention with consultation is the colors that it comes in. So it's in blue black, which is already probably like the strongest color combination, and the win is just so efficient. And you're already in efficient colors, so to just get like a super efficient win in already super efficient colors, just makes it really strong. And like if you're not running Flash Hulk, then run Consultation, and if you're not running Consultation, then
you're losing.
you're losing. Which is, I mean, but at the same time, I don't think people should not play it. Like I think it's totally fine to play. It's just, a super efficient way to win. Probably one of the most efficient ways to win in super efficient colors. So it's very good, and it's very good for not a huge deck building restriction, right? You only need to run two of the same colors.
What 3 cards?
Well, yeah, and
So
you
you can
can't
slot
run,
into-
it's
it's
two,
two.
and you can't run any of the same card twice. So like land bases are, but again, that's like,
It's not.
who really cares? So I don't know. I think it's I understand why people might not like watching it, because it is sort of like, okay, I play this card and then I play the second card. So it's in a sense it's like not that fun to watch, but I think it's way easier to stop than like a Flash Hulk. So I don't know.
I agree. And that's my thing with it is I think it's pretty stoppable. I don't personally have a problem with it. I'm the type of person probably more on the side of playing consult than probably some other people at this power level. But I think it's pretty stoppable. I mean, it is pretty obvious when it's a threat. I mean, it's not like it's just it's
Once
not
they
like
get,
it comes
once
out of
they
nowhere.
get 3 mana,
Yeah,
they're like, oh, they could win. I better just destroy them.
It's not like it comes out of nowhere. So you have a chance. You have like an untap. You have a turn to deal with it. Like if they have the mana and they don't do anything, or they're about to get the mana and they don't do anything on your turn, I mean, you need to always just think of that as a threat. And that's a problem people have with Flash Hulk. But the difference for me, and it's a big difference for me, is the fact that it's sorcery speed.
It's not instant speed.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Oracle does make it tougher to deal with because before you could use just targeted removal and bounce, but at like very high power levels, there isn't like a plethora of like single target removal and bounce. So even though they're using Oracle, it's like you had already a small chance to stop like a lab man anyways, because not a lot of people were just running like there are like the abrupt decays and some random bounce spells, but there's not like you're gonna always have them in your hand. So it's like now you need to have like a stifle effect to stop it, but were you really having that high of a chance of stopping the more non-efficient versions before?
I think though, I mean, sure you had it's a low chance. Like what are the chances you have like, I don't know, it's a target removal in your hand versus with Oracle, it's like you have
two
no
cards.
chance.
You need to have 2 cards.
And you have
It does definitely make it
one of 2 cards.
It definitely makes it
that
harder to deal with.
not every deck runs.
Yeah.
But I still feel like the way it wins is still similar enough where like if I lose to it, I'm like, okay, I was probably going to lose to it the other way they were going to do it too. This is just they're doing it a little bit easier.
I mean, it also depends on the interaction level of your deck. Like if you have a lot of interaction, you're more likely to be able to stop it. I mean, if you're playing obviously if you're playing like your Isan deck, you aren't going to be able to stop it anyway.
Yeah, no.
But now these decks that run all this interaction, they only have 1 card in the deck. Yeah. Well, no. Well, yeah, but I'm saying before.
Yeah.
You only have 1 card in your deck that.
Yeah, no, I know. It's. Yeah, I don't know. I can see why people don't like it, and I think again the reason why people might not like it so much for us is that if you're running blue black, you might as well run it because it's so efficient and there's such a low restriction for deck building.
It's like the whole Soul Ring thing. It's like every deck, even if you don't really need it, you're like, it's Soul Ring. I might as well just throw it in. It's going to help.
It's just so good. Like, why wouldn't you just run it? So, I don't know. And I think if people can just like, I don't know, if you like it, then run it. But if you don't like it, you don't have to run it,
So, back on the whole efficiency thing, I was very strongly against running Consultation for a very long time. But I put it in as like a backup win con, but it's so fast and easy. It just gets there faster than winning another way. It's too.
Do you think
good.
it's?
I mean,
do you think it's too efficient to be ban worthy?
I don't. So,
but what would you ban?
What do you ban? Do you ban Consultation?
That's what I'm asking. I think
you don't ban
run Consultation in so many other decks that don't.
I think Oracle is probably the
bigger problem.
Issue.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna ban anything, you ban Oracle because that fixes everyone's complaints about Flash Hulk and Consultation right there. But I wouldn't ban it. I think if we're playing at a high level, we're playing the decks as best they can be within a certain range, without like OG duels and stuff. I think you need to run it. I don't see why you shouldn't.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely on the high end of this like high-powered power level, but I don't ever find myself in a situation where I look back at the game and think, there's nothing in my deck, or like there's a large chance that I won't be able to deal with that. Like most of my decks are built, even the non-con. I don't run that many console decks, and the decks that don't run console, I think,
I'm fine playing against them.
well equipped to handle it.
I agree.
Yeah. I have had to switch a couple decks. I've had to add a couple things in meta-wise. I'm like, this is a thing that could happen in most games now. So I have added a couple specific cards that can deal with that. And I don't feel like it's really affected my deck that much. It's just like if I see it, I'm like, hey, now I got it. And if I don't have it, I'm like, okay, this is just how the game happened before.
I think there is a clear distinction though between a console win and like a Flash Hulk win.
Oh, for sure.
I don't think they're anywhere near as good. Like is Consultation a problem? I mean, you could argue it is.
I don't think anything's a problem.
I think Flash Hulk is probably a problem.
I don't think it's a problem.
I'm like, the way I see it is you have
like you
Consultation. Yeah, you have Consultation Oracle, which is 2 cards. You have to play Oracle and Consultation. Flash Hulk is you have to play Flash and Hulk. They're both
You have to
2
have-
card
Well,
combos.
it's
have to have
only
both. No, you
you,
don't-
do
you
need
don't-
both cards, but it's only a single cast.
Yeah,
I think that's a
you
big
don't-
difference.
yeah.
Yeah,
And it utilizes or can utilize something like Beseiju, where you can make it
Uncounterable.
uncounterable, and now you have to have a stifle effect or the game's over.
and it's so early in the game where you're just trying to build your board. So like you're gonna tap out. So you're like, I'm gonna tap out to play this Arcane Signet,
Same could happen with
you know.
consultation.
Agreed,
Yeah.
but
but
mean,
it's
I mean,
on your turn
I
versus
understand
on
what
their
you're
turn.
saying.
Yeah.
but
I think a big
Yeah.
difference, especially with that, for example, if I have a 1-mana counter spell that counters an instant or sorcery, if I have a Swan Song in my hand, and I'm tapping out to play a Mana Rock on turn 2, tapping both my mana source, I had a slow start. I got 2 lands and an Arcane Signet. I tap out to play the Arcane Signet. With Flash Hulk, in response to that, when I have no mana available, they flash out.
Yeah,
They win.
versus
Versus Sorcery Speed, where my stuff's going to resolve
Flusterstorm or
because they have to make it back to their turn. And that specific situation is one of like my biggest reasons on why I'm personally fine with it, because I'm not going to feel scared to slowly advance my board. I'm not scared to go 2 for 1 on a Mana Rock because
I agree.
I have that one CMC interaction where against Flash that could probably be pointless because they can do it in response to me getting that
You
Mana
never
Rock.
feel safe fully tapping out for anything.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. Like
and it
the
also
decks,
it slows down the games, because everybody's
well, for that same reason. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, because people are just either afraid to advance their board, so they're just gonna land pass, keep up their interaction, and
Yeah, because I'm like, none of us really play Flash Hulk. We have Consultation Oracle. I feel like I'm fine with the Consultation Oracle because, like you said, it's like on your turn, like sorcery speed stuff. So it's easier to deal with, and you're not always like on the edge of your seat, like, oh, this guy could just win in response to me doing anything. So I haven't gone against like Flash Hulk before. So I don't really have like the best knowledge on it, but I feel that is definitely a scary thing to go against.
For
like
sure.
how people
Yeah.
always say it is
Yeah.
compared to just normal like play Consultation Oracle or Consultation Lab Man.
It's a different play style for sure, and it's a different mindset, I think, that you go into it. And I don't think
Oh, yeah.
Consultation necessarily has that. I will say Fish, like Thassa's Oracle is probably the biggest issue of the Consultation package. It just made the Consultation package so much easier because now
so much easier.
you don't need a draw spell.
It's
Like, that's
one less
huge.
mana,
It's
too.
less mana,
It's literally one less.
and you don't need an extra card.
Yeah, insane.
It was like Flash Hulk was already a
insanely good.
streamlined win con before, and now it's just like they shaved it down even more to like
yeah, like even when
an
the Jace
even
was there,
finer point.
when you had like built-in draw with the Jace,
It's still
it's
2 more mana.
yeah, that's what
Right.
I'm saying. It's 2 less mana, and it has the built-in win.
Yeah,
And but you it's more mana. You can get rid of it. It has the built-in win, sure, but like it was it was Lab Man. It was a better Lab Man, but it still required steps to get there. With Fish, you just got to land that permanent and
Yeah.
you're done.
which is I think probably the biggest problem that, and I guess I don't know if this is true, but I feel like the biggest problem that the viewers have with it is it's just like it's boring to
That's
watch.
fair.
to
No,
watch. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
I mean, the process to get there is always entertaining. That's how CDH always is.
unless
but-
you literally turn 3 when.
Yeah,
You
and
know
I
what
think we
I'm
try to
saying?
avoid that for the most part.
I
We,
I
we-
mean, it's
we
just
try
not
to make
entertaining.
we try to make
Exactly.
sure that the games are relatively entertaining.
It's more, I think people feel like it's like if you're watching like a TV series and you have like 3 different series and add like it's a different series, like episode 1 through 10 each time, but then the last episode every time, no matter what is happening during the season, it always ends with like the same good guy fighting the same bad guy, the same thing happens. So it's like, oh wow, this was so cool up until here, and then I saw the same thing I saw last week when I watched that episode of that show.
Yeah, it's
So
like the buildup
I
is
think
different.
that's how it feels for people.
Yeah, and that's fair from a
Yeah, I'm
spectator
so
point of view.
confused.
From the spectator's point of view, it definitely looks super
Yeah.
consistent. and the
Especially
same.
when a lot of content creators are all putting out the same win cons
Yeah.
the same week. I mean,
because it's just so efficient.
yeah, I mean, it's,
Yeah, you might have different like guts to the scenario, but then the ending of it is like, oh wow, this is the same
It's
thing I
just
saw
a
like
variety thing.
before.
People are just looking for variety.
Which is fair,
Yeah,
and
I
we'll get into
understand.
the
Which is
the
fair.
channel specific stuff in a minute. But I wanted to just get our opinions on consultation, just start some discussion
say
on it,
play
talk
it.
about it.
I think it's
I'm
But
fine
I do
with
have a few off points that actually you kind of made me think of. In terms of a win like consultation, not really Flash. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds on Flash, but for consultation specifically, I have 2 things that I want to bring up. The first one is, in terms of new cards coming out, what would you guys like to see in terms of ways to prevent it? Like, obviously you can get more counter spells and stuff, but what about, I guess my question is, would you prefer for an archetype like this, let's say it's ban worthy, for example, would you prefer it's banned or would you prefer additional hate pieces come out? For example, a
It just
possible true leak that is coming out, a 2-mana creature.
Leaks.
It's not confirmed, but a 2-mana creature
It's not a leak
that,
podcast, by the way.
that when an opponent exiles a spell, they take a damage. So that's a hate piece that hits Consultation specifically.
Is it a spell or a card?
I think it's a creature.
I really don't like that because you're taking up spell or just slots that could be more interesting cards just to hate out on a card that they messed up by printing.
I'm kind of okay with a card kind of like that because like for like my Yisan deck I run, one of the new cards I put in for scenarios like this, it doesn't deal with like the turn 1 or 2 turn 2 Consultation win, but I put in Loaming Shaman, which is a 3-mana creature. When it enters the battlefield, you can shuffle any number of cards from target player's graveyard back into their library. So if you're going like a few turns into the game and somebody has like 3, 4, 5 cards in their graveyard, you can like, for me personally in Yisan, it's easier because I can just tutor out a piece like that. And I can say, oh, you played Consultation, exile your whole library. I'm going to shuffle your graveyard back in so you don't actually win the game. But if they had something where it's like, oh, shuffle like cards from exile back in, like how Eldrazi processors used to have the whole put exiled cards back into their graveyard. If they had something like that where you could return exiled cards, but you'd end up shuffling them in so they don't actually win on the ETB. Something where you don't have to be in blue to stifle it, like another answer for other colors. Because I feel like blue is the only color that can really answer that with like stifle effects. Nobody else can really do anything.
It's fair. So 1/4 additional hate pieces, one kind of against. What do you guys think in terms of like new hate pieces coming out? Is that a solution to issues that arise like this? Because Demonic Consultation is an old ass card. Like that's a card that was printed forever ago. It's not like they could imagine this would be happening. And I'm sure there'll be situations in the future where old cards come back and become good. Do you think hate pieces being printed as new cards are a good solution, a bad solution? What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I think there should be some. I don't think they should necessarily be a creature that you have to play, but more universal. So it's like an enchantment or something that's gonna
something that blankets
stop
the
more
board.
than just Consultation.
Because that creature seems like a very targeted.
Oh, for sure. It's very, very specific.
Oh, so like you run it in a deck and you bring it into a blind pod, it's gonna be useless.
Yeah, it could be a dead card or it could be like an all-star card, but you have no idea.
Yeah, that's fair.
Unless you're exiling their
library
with Rest in Peace or something.
Yeah, there's no.
Then they're
Well,
just
it's
gonna die.
specifically this creature's exile from library.
Oh, well,
I
Yes.
believe. I don't actually remember the exact wording, but
I believe that's what
Not
it said.
confirmed.
not confirmed. It
it's
was
also
on a
not
random Reddit post, but
it's
I'm
also not real,
But
so
yeah.
we can stop talking.
I'm
about
inclined
I-
to believe everything I read on the
think-
internet.
Random hate pieces for certain cards are nice, but when stuff like this happens where it's like the whole Oracle thing where so many people are just up in arms about it, I feel like situations like that, you can't just go, oh, in the next set or two, we're going to print one thing that deals with this. Maybe you should just ban it for now and then bring it back later
I
when
think-
you're
I don't.
like,
I don't
when
think
you're
that
like
it's a
people
problem
can.
though.
No, which is this is
I don't-
aside from the point.
Like
I'm
I
just
don't,
on the
I don't
topic
find
of
it as a
hate
big
pieces.
problem, but I feel like in stuff situations like this with cards like this, they could be like, okay, we're gonna ban it for now, and then later down the road when people have the ability to play against this safely and can go, oh, I feel like I can deal with this, and not just say, oh, they played this card, I can't stop it no matter what I do.
But see, there are already ways to deal with it. I
Just
mean,
just
they
opening
don't.
up to more colors would help.
Yeah, I can see that. But
Like
I
I
don't
feel like
know.
as of right now, if you see a Consultation deck and you're not running blue, you have to figure out like how in the world am I supposed to stop this?
Hushbringer,
True.
Torpor Orb, you can run in any deck.
I mean,
You
don't
can,
stop
but
a
it
lab
doesn't-
man
Just
chase.
kill them before they get to play.
Yeah,
True.
but
I do.
but
like
those
that
are like
as
those
well.
are those
Yeah.
are also a lot easier to deal with.
I don't know. I'm if we're just talking about printing cards that help to damper down a specific archetype, I think those are fun. I always like seeing those, like Dampening Sphere, like the anti-storm card when that dropped
Right.
in Dominaria. I was super amped about that card. I think they're fun to, have, and just to have that in your arsenal to say like, maybe if it's not even in your deck, but you can be like,
It's available.
I can slot this in
Right.
if I'm like
If your
I
group is
hate
really
losing
starting to do that.
console all the time, like just put it in your deck.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I also don't think that banning is like always the right thing to do, and in this situation, I definitely don't think. Well, I would say in regards to Consultation, it's definitely not the right thing to do. Thassa's Oracle, maybe, I don't know. Flash, okay, maybe now we're getting somewhere, but I don't know. I think I like to see new unique cards printed that will, that do cool stuff. So
But specific to like target a specific
yeah,
archetype.
I don't think that's a problem. Especially the stronger the archetype is, I think it's useful to have cards that you can, look to
But
help.
but think about this card in standard. What is that card gonna do?
It doesn't have to do anything.
Doesn't,
There are a lot of cards in standard.
especially when they're coming out with commander
Smothering
sets now.
Tithe. That's
Yeah.
not a standard. That card was printed in a standard set.
Yeah.
Not a
Oh, I
standard
mean,
card.
It has
You know?
uses in standard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
that's-
can certainly cast it instead.
Oh, you definitely could.
I don't know if you'll get much
I
value
think-
out of it.
I think I think that if you print a card that stops, like, let's say this is the real deal. Would I run that in a deck to stop? Well, okay, if it's either black or blue, there's a problem. But if
It
it's
is black.
I
It's
think
one
that's
in the black.
I think that's a problem.
Yeah.
But if you're, maybe it's not a problem. I don't know. I think if it, well, that's something entirely different. But I think having these sort of cards that you can just like pull in if you need to, I don't think that hurts anything, especially if the archetype is super strong. Like if I'm playing Consultation, I have my Zerg Consultation deck, and someone plays that, I'm not like, oh, why'd they print that card, man? I'm like, okay, sure, I can now. I have something to play around. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't think it's.
Well, I don't think it's that big of an issue to where they need to print these cards that specifically hate out this one.
I think we're talking in general.
yeah,
I think we're talking
no.
generally speaking.
Yeah, this is more
Oh.
a general question.
Like-
Okay, no,
something he said that made me think of.
I thought you were just talking about this card in general. That
No, this is like an example.
No, an example of a card that might be coming out that's kind of specifically targets like a certain archetype.
Dampening Sphere,
Oh, yeah.
Alpine Moon.
oh no,
do
I
like
definitely think
those
it's
type of
smart to
cards.
print cards that target.
I do like the
archetypes,
dampening
but-
sphere because that's one of those ones, like Jordan said, it's kind of like a blanket effect where it stops Storm really hard, but it also just stops other people if they're going to cast like 4 spells in a turn. They're not storming, but before they could cast
Oh,
4
we storming,
spells in a
boys.
turn.
We
But now it's
storm
like
into day.
that. Now they
Area
can't like
51.
turn 1, Mana Crypt, Soul Ring, Talisman. Now they're like, okay, now I can only do like 2 of these things because I can't play multiple spells a turn. And it kind of helps even the table out.
I think they're fun cards. I think they're fun. I
They
like them.
played Dampening Sphere turn 1.
They-
Savages.
I mean,
Yeah.
I would if I
The
could. If
mad
I ran that card,
lads.
oh, I'd love to run that turn. I'd love it.
100%.
Huh?
100% in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah.
It's like that's a great turn 1 hate piece.
Mhm.
In terms of like good solid turn 1 hate pieces, I mean,
I'm
deafening
traumatized from
deafening
the
silence
video
effects are like
game.
tier 1, obviously, especially if you're going first. But like a damping sphere kind of is a little bit more universal.
Maybe
there.
turn 1 Cursed Totem, just make all my decks.
Yeah,
Not
yeah. I try to do
exist.
that as much as
Yeah.
possible.
So it's always a good feeling.
All right, so that was just a little sidetrack thing I thought of. Another thing that you had said that made me think of
Sparking
something
all
else.
this conversation.
What do
Spark
you?
Couple?
Are you guys
No,
concerned
it's good cards,
about?
bad cards.
And this is kind of on the note of Thassa's Oracle. What are your guys' concerns about power creep within like unintentional power creep from Wizards
It's a good
from these
question.
new cards being printed? Because I don't think they even realized Thassa's would have been as big as. I mean, maybe they did, but I highly
Like
doubt
that's
they kind of
It's like-
How
realized.
could they not?
Well, it's like the same thing with Oko. Even the guy who made Oko originally said, "Yeah, I thought they were just gonna like elk their own things and do fun things," and then it turned into a thing that
Yeah.
needed to be banned across like almost every format because it was just ridiculous. Like sometimes they just even like the people that tested are like, "Yeah, this isn't really gonna be that bad. It's just kind of fun and different," and then it gets out and like within 5 minutes, some guy goes, "Oh hey, this is a dumb card. Why'd you do this?" So I feel like they don't really like. Sometimes they don't know what they're doing. Sometimes I think they do, and I'm okay with it to a point because it's kind of cool when you see cards like that. Like the first time we saw it, we were like, "Oh, this is just like cooler Lab Man," and I feel like it's cool sometimes seeing cards like that where you're like, "This reminds me of this old card I used to play," but it's just a cooler, better, sometimes different
Much
version.
Power
better.
creep. That's
Yeah.
power.
Sometimes
Exactly.
different.
Yeah, sometimes
Sometimes you
different.
win
I mean-
the game faster.
I mean, look at the
Yes.
commanders they're printing now. Look at the brawl commanders.
Mhm.
Well, just
Look at Shoe Lane. Look at
Yeah.
um,
look at Magic in general. Shivan Dragon used to be a great card.
Yeah,
Like,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
a great
yeah.
It's a
You,
hard-
you could say
It's
that's
impossible.
That's what I used to
stop.
say. It's
Oh,
like
for
Lab
sure.
Lab Man used to be like you'd see that in a commander game. They'd be like, "Oh, Consultation Lab Man." You're like, "Oh crap, what do I do?" And now it's like you see that and you're like, "Why would you ever play that?" So in like 10 years, it could be you could look at Oracle and be like, "Wow, look at that crap card. Why would you play that?" Because they have this new thing.
Is this something you guys are worried about in general in terms
One
of just
mana win the
magic?
game.
I think
As long
it's
as it creeps
that's all it says, just you win the
equally,
game.
don't
yeah. I think
it'll
it's
be-
cool because it just keeps the game like evolving. You're constantly
you
having to.
you get to swap your card. They
to
keep
change.
freshening up everything. Be like, okay, I had this, but now I can play this, and it kind of changes everything. So you're not stale all the time.
I don't know if it's necessarily. So I definitely think power creep is like real, right? You have cards like Questing Beast, which is just like it has a wall of text, and that would something like that would probably never be.
That's
printed.
one of the cards where I'm glad I don't play standard. I don't want to deal with that.
But on the other hand, you
read.
have cards that are old obviously banned now, like Time Vault.
Mhm.
You know, like just these super absurdly strong cards. So I don't know if it's necessarily a power creep thing. I think it might be more of like a design issue. Like you're, especially for Commander, designing cards that are too easy
To
That
break.
makes sense. Too easy to break. Yeah, like there's too much either inherent value or they work too well.
Yeah, look at Shoelane. Like
Yeah,
you play, you get to play a land, you get to draw a card. Sorry,
The
Hull land.
commander.
We don't say
Well,
that.
that's what I'm
anyway.
saying. So I
We
don't.
don't say that when recorded.
The forbidden one.
Is that power creep or is that just
Well,
like a design flaw?
You got to think about designing though. They have to design for almost every card that's come out.
And every
it's
format.
impossible
I'm
to
not saying
balance.
I'm not saying it's easy or even possible. I'm just saying is that a power creep question?
It
Or
is also
that
the-
I get what you're saying.
design
It's,
space?
It's also the formats too, because
both.
they have to work around a
probably
lot of formats because they can do stuff where they're like Smothering Tide. They can say, okay, this isn't gonna matter for standard. This is basically a card printed for commander, but they can't do that with every card, so they have to
Or
still like.
historic. Any
No.
historic fans?
But
Let us know in the
any
comments.
historics?
any historikers out there? But no, they gotta. I feel like I don't design cards. I just get them and I think they're cool.
You don't
and
design
I'm,
cards.
You don't?
No,
Oh, that's what you did.
don't give
We
away
thought
my
you were our
Why
man
is-
on the
why is he-
inside.
Why is he here then?
Don't give away my
Why is he here?
secrets. I just designed the slivers. That's
Sorry,
it.
Adam. Keep going.
No, but and now I don't remember what I was saying. Oh god, it's gone.
You don't design cards.
I think there's power.
Yeah,
creep.
I was
think,
saying that.
I think it's fair to say that there's a good amount of power creep. I also think it's probably fair to say that some of the cards are designed in a way that makes it look a lot like power creep, while it's just making the game too easy. I don't know if that's the right way to say it.
Which
but-
interacts really well with an older card.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It is tough
or
when you have like
the
25,000 cards and you're like, what if this card works really well with this 1 in 25,000 cards? I'm like, do we not print this now because it works with that one card?
What if we printed
Which
a
kinda
card where
sucks.
every time you cast a creature, you can draw a card and play a land? Like, that's just like, is that
Crazy.
power creep or is that
That's power creep.
or is
No, I
that a
wouldn't-
design
I
flaw?
wouldn't say.
I think that's them trying to sell
necessarily power
product.
Or is that them trying to sell
That's
product?
true. I think
You
my
know?
Like-
my
Yeah, I
opinion
agree,
on it is
totally.
power creep is I come from like I played a shit ton of RuneScape, and power creep is a definite issue in that game because it's an older game. Old school RuneScape's obviously an older game, and it has an issue where people play it so efficiently compared to when they were kids that a lot of the newer content isn't exciting or doesn't get played unless it's worth the time. And I think a lot of that carries over to Magic where people won't spend the money. And I know Wizards isn't super concerned with the secondary market, but I mean, there's still the secondary market affects the primary market, obviously, because it affects sales. So I think there is an issue there where they need to make sure they're printing stuff that is worth buying. I think Magic is nice because it's more diverse than something like old school RuneScape because you can print stuff that strengthens this archetype that's not as prevalent. My thing is power creep is going to happen. I think it's unavoidable, and I think it's fine as long as there's checks and balances. So, for example, hate pieces. I'm a big proponent of hate pieces and stack C based decks.
Yeah, we know.
And I think as long as like on
He is. Believe him.
to carry off of the previous point of specific hate pieces, like I'm a big fan of, if Wizards kept, their thumb on the market and what the good archetypes were for specific formats and just print stuff that kind of counteracts or at least slows down the power creep and balances it out. Because power creep is inevitable. They want to sell product. They want to make sure that the stuff they're making is worth people buying. And even though cards rotate out and they have a little bit of leeway there with standard where, in a year they can print something that's weaker than what they just printed because what they just printed will be rotated out. But I think a lot of hate pieces is specifically for eternal formats is probably the correct solution because it allows you to allows people to dampen the prevalent archetypes without them having to restrict what they print.
My only problem with that is that when does it become a point where half your deck is hate pieces or dampening effects?
Hopefully, all of it's hate pieces. Joseph's playing.
Well, but you know what I'm saying. So if the response to power creep is print cards that shut down powerful strategies, and again, like I said before, I'm a fan of these type of cards because I am. But I think if you're just going to ignore the power creep and say we're just going to print response cards, then you're just going to have a deck I have to run this card now because this is so strong. Now I have to run this card. So I think there is probably a balance.
But I think the power. I don't think I can comment on them ignoring power creep because they're not going to. Look at a card like Dockside Extortionist. That card was printed and every red deck. It's incredibly strong, and those are the kind of cards they want to print, especially in these commander staples. So I think power creep is just an inevitability. My opinion is, if you have all of these fast win cons, all of these win cons that are compact, efficient, I think printing specific hate pieces to hate on those helps the solution because you'll get the player like me who likes to play the Staxy decks and will thrive in a meta full of consultation. If they print 5 good consultation hate pieces or something like that, a player like me would slot those into a deck.
Throw a party.
I mean,
You call us all up, guys. We're having pizza.
Like I think the meta, the players who build decks around like stacks-based decks around their meta, I think will thrive, and I think they will kind of shift their own meta into having the consultation players or whatever the archetype is adapt to them. And I think I'm not saying it's the perfect solution, but I think it's a good solution to kind of keep checks and balances in place because they are going to keep printing powerful cards.
Oh yeah.
That's not even a question. So I think just supplementing those powerful cards with cards that can slow down the new and powerful stuff, I think is a good way to keep everything not perfectly balanced because that's impossible, but at least a little more level and a little more diverse to kind of break up the homogenous nature of, the higher powered strong decks. That being said, I doubt they're even really paying attention to the higher powered commander specifically. I can't imagine it's much of a concern, because of something like the Assa's Oracle. I can't imagine that they have, that good of a grasp on what players in the higher powered EDH community are playing.
How they always say the CEDH is the 5%, 1%, whatever of EDH. It's they're the ones that use Oracle. Nobody else in casual really uses Oracle. So
unless they're playing a mono blue devotion deck, I'm sure they run a
value.
It's a good value card.
Mono blue value town.
Who cares about winning the game?
I feel like they're not abusing it in the 99%. So they're do we mess with a card for people that are in the 1% that the 99% don't use, which is also the whole tough thing.
I don't. This is a whole different conversation, but I don't like it when people talk about CDH like it's a different format. And people I know there's an argument out there to have it be a different format. It's just Commander, but it's played at the highest tier that you can.
Yeah, and I don't think that's where. I don't think my point was at all keeping it a different format.
No.
I just think
what Adam said just made me think of it.
I just think the archetypes is something that they're not paying attention to. I agree.
Especially
especially this year, they are going to put a bigger focus on Commander specifically, but I think it's going to be more of the fun stuff that they're going to accidentally make good, like Dockside Extortionist. I'm sure they knew it was a good card. I don't think they knew how good it was going to be. I think maybe Holland, to an extent, as an example, wasn't Commander specific, but it was Brawl. They knew it was going to be a Commander.
Yes.
A card like that where it has a few too many abilities, and this is a whole different topic, but my problem with Holland being printed is it's so specific. I personally like more general based commanders. Let you be a little bit more
Corvold is
flexible.
public enemy number 2. Bro.
It's kind of like the whole thing with
over there.
It's kind of like the whole thing with mental
almost just as
misstep,
bad.
mental misstep and carpet of flowers. I was playing with one of our other friends. He's starting out with Magic, and I was playing Yisan in my Baral deck. And I was being nice with my Baral deck, people. Don't judge me. I was not countering his things. I told him I would draw cards till I lost the game. Just I wanted to show him what the deck was like.
So selfless.
But when I had
I just want to
I've
draw.
had
The
I've had
righteous
hands
mono blue
I've had
player.
hands in Baral where I had mental misstep, and I'm like, this doesn't counter a single card in your deck besides your Soul Ring. But then if I go to play against all of you guys, I'm like, this card could counter probably half of the non-land permanents in some of your decks.
Yeah.
So there's certain cards like Dockside is crazy in metas like ours where we can play a lot of artifacts and enchantments quick, but in casual it's you play that and you have 5 other people at the table, you might get 2 things on turn 6.
5 other people.
Perfect.
A 6-man pod.
You could.
A perfect.
If you're playing a 6-man pod.
Yeah, you don't.
Dockside
We just
is
don't.
so good.
Just don't play a 6-man pod.
Just
Let's
don't.
let's
We-
do
Yeah,
that.
also
We've
don't do
done
that.
it. So
When we started playing, I bought a Mystic Remora. That card didn't draw me a
Oh, yeah,
single card,
absolutely
so I went and
nothing.
bought a Ristic Study.
I remember when I first saw you play that, and I was like, old card, so good.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was right. That card is so good.
I think I was one of the first people to bring that back and play it. And then Jordan was like,
I never
told
bought
me
it.
that story. He's like, I used to play that card. Didn't draw me any cards.
I never bought it because I thought it was better than Mystic Study, and I was like, this card's got to be so expensive. I look,
it's
I'm like, wait, why is this
mad
like $2? Why did I
Yeah.
never buy this?
Buy your copies.
Yes.
They're
Buy
still
'em all.
cheapish.
But yeah, I feel like it's stuff like that where they print cards where it's like, for most people in most games, this won't do the broken stuff, and then for like the couple people like us and other higher tier
The
players,
1%ers.
yeah, it's like we can take that card and go, oh, we could do a broken thing with that, like the Carpet of Flowers Mental Misstep style cards. But in
Compost.
other scenarios,
Compost, yeah.
other scenarios, it's like that won't actually do the broken thing. It'll just be a normal card.
Yeah, which is fair. And again, which is why I don't think that these cards are ever going to stop because they're not focusing so much on the higher powered. My only, I guess, request, like I want more hate pieces. I think that helps us without hurting anyone else.
This was an excuse. Just
Yeah.
for
It's an
Joseph to ask
excuse
for
for me to
more
talk
hate
about-
pieces.
Give me them stacks.
I want more, not just stacks. Like I don't want winter orb effects. I want effects that
I want the real.
Give me that
I want
summer
specific-
orb.
I want more
I
deafening
want more
silences.
null rods.
More no rods, more deafening
Nope.
silences, stuff I can
I
build.
want more
around.
static
Give an
orbs.
oof, give an oof for
I want
every
static
color.
orb
Waste
on
of
a creature.
slots
Wait,
and a
we
new
just
set.
no, just oof for every color that has a different.
That's my
ability. That'd be
opinion.
great.
I want static orb on a legendary creature.
I mean, the problem
That's
is
what
they
I want.
waste so many slots anyway. Just stop printing some of the cards that never get played. And
Like the bad ones.
I
There are
guess.
just some. I mean,
There's
you
a lot
have
of
to
bad
print.
cards.
You have to.
Oh, you have to
print
print bad
rares.
cards.
Yeah,
Like
Like,
just,
that's
just make
another,
the bad cards good for.
That's another format thing where they
Good
they do
hate
it for
pieces.
the
sometimes
like
they
draft.
are. I mean,
They
Like
are.
draft and limited formats, they have to have those like fodder cards. So it's like another format thing where they have to design cards around all the formats. So it's like even though that's a small format, they're like we have to throw in a couple of these kind of like bulk bad cards just so that when we do these things, people have those too.
I will say a good example of me wanting a hate piece and not getting one is the new, I think it's an Eidolon card that got printed where it taxes Planeswalker
Yeah.
activations.
Oh yeah,
Make that a good hate piece and I'm happy. Like I
Oh,
don't,
it's not. It's
I heard a lot of talk
it's
about
not
that.
awful.
it is
for-
awful. It's,
No,
it's-
okay.
It's pretty
if
bad.
If you're playing in a pod that loves planeswalkers in a more casual format,
You
It's
mean
not
It's
it
still
is.
it's still
Great.
not that.
You mean Sisay?
great. I mean, it's like I heard a lot of
Sure.
talk on it when it first
Planeswalker?
came out, and people were
No?
like, "Why did you do it
I
as
probably
one?"
wouldn't
Because
play
like
that
in
as a
standard,
True,
when
one
they
is
have
pretty
they have 3
bad.
mana Teferi. They're like, okay, if you're on like the draw, you can play this, and then the next turn they can be like, okay, I'm gonna play Teferi, and I'm like, or they have to wait because they can't activate, so they just play him a turn later. I'm like, they're still doing it's not really.
it's just one mana.
Yeah, it's not one. It's
It's
like
one
if
deck
they
of
said
one.
it was like
I thought it was the abilities cost one more.
Yeah. like they wouldn't play it just to not activate it, but it's like if they made it like 2 or 3, it
awful.
would be like an
pretty-
actual.
Is that awful?
pretty bad.
I don't know.
I don't think
I've-
it's awful.
I feel like
think
if they,
great.
it's not that
Definitely
great.
not good.
Is
They
that
said
a
if it was
limited
like
powerhouse.
if it was like 2 or 3 extra, I feel like it would be
limited.
it would be
I
like
don't know.
actually
This
relevant.
might okay. This might not be the platform to expose my ignorance, but is limited just playing with the cards of the set that comes out?
I play Commander.
I
Is
don't
that
know.
what
I don't
limited
even
is?
know.
Let us know in
Honestly,
the
I
comments.
don't
only
even
play
know.
Commander.
Is
I
that
don't know what-
limited?
I don't know what
And
limited
if
is,
so,
honestly.
why would you play that format?
I don't know anything except Commander.
Oh, sorry. I
Yeah.
was focusing the camera.
Oh,
I don't know if you're like. Sorry. Continue.
Limited sounds not
Terrible.
great.
Yeah, I'm
But
pretty sure.
if
I'm
that's
pretty
what
sure
you
we
like,
played 60 card
keep
decks
playing.
once, and I just made Commander
What are
decks with
those?
60 cards. Like I made Nekusar with
I wanna
60
play
cards, and I
Pioneer.
look back, I'm like, why the hell did I
I
do
want to
this?
play Pioneer.
Who makes a 60 card Nekusar deck?
never heard of it.
Whatever.
It's just
Whatever, man.
brawl. Eternal
Pretty
brawl.
much.
All right,
It
so I
was
think that
too
wraps
bad.
up our
Oathbreaker.
our conversation, I guess.
Oathbreaker.
It was fun.
It did derail a bit. Let us know what you think about this style or this format. It's a little bit different than last time. Last episode, we kind of hopped around to a lot of different topics. This one was kind of just started in one spot and we just took it where we took it. Let us know what you think. We are still kind of refining the style that we want to do this podcast in. We want it to be entertaining to you. We like talking just in general about Magic. So we have no problem just talking about whatever. So let us know what you guys think in terms of the entertainment value. If you like one topic and us just branching off into whatever we come up with or think of, or if you like, 5 topics squeezed into one,
Ask us questions in the comments too.
could do that.
Yeah, 'cause
I like
I don't like
questions.
having to like think about what I have to say. I like you just being like, say this, and I get to answer it.
Adam's easily manipulated.
Oh yeah, so easily manipulated.
Say this and I get to answer. So are you thinking about your answer or are you just reading?
No, answer for him in the comments.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, do
Ask
that.
a question
Like,
and give an answer.
Yeah, ask it and then
Okay.
like another, just make another like
We're looking for Adam
account and
replacements.
then
Yeah, anyone wants to, if anyone
Apply in
wants
the
to apply,
comments below.
don't
send your-
take me away.
submit your application in the Discord.
Okay, don't do
They
that.
don't
want me. Don't. Frank.
Anyway, so now that that's over, I want to give just for like a minute or two, just give our stance. If you're watching at this point, you're probably pretty invested in the channel. So our stance on demonic consultation within our games, we are going to, from here on out, at the time that we released like 3 out of 4 consultation game, or I think 3 out of 4 matches were consultation, which I think
in one
we're
season.
just in a row.
Oh,
There
yeah.
were 4 games and 3 of them were consultation ones, which to be fair, I think we're the
two
only.
more in one episode. Though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think those are the only times consultations won in
The
our videos.
Nekusar
Oh, that's right.
game.
Either way, we had recorded all of season 2 at that point, so we couldn't really change season 2 too much. So we have relooked at like season 3 and 4, which we have planned out, and we already have the pods established. And I said this in one of the other intros to one of the videos. We're not going to stop playing consultation where it's good. However, we are going to format the pods in a way that might be a little bit more entertaining. For example, for season 3, we have a few consultation decks, but we put them in the same pod. So, you know, if you're going to watch a consultation deck, you're going to watch all the consultation decks, essentially. So I'll try to keep it separated a little bit more so it's not like, you know, there's 3 games out of 4 have consultation in them. And, you know, if it is the lucky day for the consultation players and they win all of them, it's a boring season. We're going to try to break that up a little bit so we can pit the boring or like the homogenous archetypes against each other and use the other games to be a little bit more various. So we're going to experiment that with season 3. Let us know what you think, but that is where we are going to kind of take the episodes, because I don't want to compromise, and I don't think any of us want to compromise the powered level that we're playing at.
No.
Yeah.
We don't want to purposely hurt our decks unless there's a flavor reason for it.
Or a price restriction.
Or a price
because
restriction.
we do that.
But we don't want to just like not play consultation in a deck that it's perfect in without a very good reason. So to compensate for that, because we understand that people might not find it as enjoyable to watch, we are going to try to just organize it a little bit better. So that's not an issue. So that is our kind of PR statement on it. If you're watching at this point, I assume probably doesn't bother you too much because you watched 42 minutes of us just rambling about nothing.
Or you're hating.
Or you hate us.
Typing up your
And you're
comment
just,
right now.
You've been spending 40
Already.
minutes typing up a comment.
Talking about how we're horrifying you with our talk.
But
Horrified.
that's just a brief little statement on our response to it, I guess. Anyway, that wraps up our talk about consultation. Anyone have any last minute things to add about anything in general?
I didn't think that would last 42 minutes.
I told you. You doubted.
Yeah.
You doubted the amount that me
Doubted
and
the
Nate
doubt.
can
consultation
talk.
I can talk quite long.
Consultation, good in Corvold.
It's true.
Consultation,
No
good,
lie.
good in math.
No
They'll
lie.
never see it
Bill
coming.
has won like at least like 4 times on Corvold with consult casting demonic consultation as
As a tutor.
a tutor. Its intended purpose and winning with it. He has lost. I have seen him exile food chain once.
I mean, I kind of want to just do that in like non-blue decks. Just be like, oh, they'll never see this tutor coming. Bam, consultation.
Tainted
Nice.
Pact, also good in Corvold.
And like a legitimately good card. I think consultation's a good tutor in general for decks that run 2 to 3.
Pact is better.
Yeah,
Oh, for sure.
It's good because like, if you have 2, like let's say you have 3 pieces of your combo and you have 2 pieces and it's just a 1-mana tutor for the
Right.
piece.
Who gives a shit with what cards you exile?
Yeah, if
You're
you're,
gonna
gonna
get
trying
that
to
one,
win, if you already
yeah.
have everything else, you just need that 1 card. You're like, this is just 1 mana. Most likely get that card.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a good card. I would hate to see it banned.
Yeah, true.
No. That being said, I think that wraps up our episode. Again, let us know what you think about us focusing or honing in on one specific topic and speaking a little bit more generally and speaking our minds, getting distracted on topics. Let us know. We're willing to kind of shape
I'm
this
easily
podcast.
distracted.
Shape this podcast depending on how you guys want to watch it. So that being said, that does wrap up this episode of the Any Responses podcast, I guess is the correct terminology for it. I am Joseph.
Yeah.
This is the rest of Casually Competitive.
That's me.
We'll see you next time.
Bye bye.
See you, peeps.
Peace.